I'm Bill Jameson. Welcome to 24/7 Dad Class. I'm so glad that you could join us today. Well, if you would just get your handbook or your workbook and get ready to go through the curriculum with me. Also, if this is your first time with me, then you want to stay for all the sessions up to session 10, and then you can go back to 1 and come back up to session 3, and you will complete the classes. Now, I also want to point out too is that this is session 4, okay? This is session 4 of 10 sessions. If you don't have a workbook, then you can get a pen and pad and just follow along with us, okay? Well, let's get started. I want to make an overarching statement here, and then we're going to get into some specifics when it comes to men's health. That's what we're talking about in this session. Session 4 is about men's health. And just want to make a general statement. If you have a problem with your mental health, it will show up in your body. If you have a problem with your physical health, it will show up in your mental capacity or in your ability to make decisions and things. And basically what we're looking at is that your physical condition and your mental condition coincide with one another. They affect one another. And so we want to be important. We want to take care of ourselves physically, and we want to take care of ourselves mentally, physically and mentally. And so we're going to look at how we do that and what we can do rather to improve our health so that we will be better at being dads on a 24/7 basis. Okay, so let's get started here. I got some questions I'd like to ask you as we start. And the first question is on a scale of 1 to 5. Okay, how well do you keep your physical health? How well are you physically? How well do you maintain your physical health? On a scale of 1 to 5. Just jot that down. You'll see that in your workbook. And then on a scale of 1 through 5, how well do you take care of your mental health? How well do you take care of your mental health? Okay? And one more here. One thing I can do to improve my physical health is what? What is one thing you could do to improve your physical health? Then, what is one thing you can do to improve your mental health? I put that on a scale of 1 to 5, I thought that I take care of myself physically about 4. I can improve in that area, and maybe even a 3.5, to be frank about it. But I think I need to be more consistent in going to the gym. And also, my daughter introduced me to Pilates, and it's really, really very effective. But it's mostly stretching, and you're using a band. And I tell you, that thing is very effective. And every time I do it, I really feel good, and I know it hits the spots that need to be hit, but I don't like doing it. I really have to psych myself out to do it. And I'm just saying, though, that we may not like to do physical exercise, but it's really good for you. And so I force myself into doing it. So I give myself a 3.5 or 4 there. And when it comes to my mental health, I think I'm a little bit better there. So I gave myself a 5 because I'm always thinking, I'm always, dealing with my psychological condition, my thinking, if you will. And so I think I really pay more attention to that than I do to my physical. I really have to work on the physical. Now, you may be the other way around or whatever, but I think the idea is that we really want to examine that, because you'll be surprised at what you can learn by just surveying yourself. I want to just switch gears here and talk a little bit about stress and anger. Oh, this is a biggie, stress and anger. Let me just read a statement here, and then we'll talk about it more in depthly. Mental health is an ability to adjust to and meet the demands of everyday life. Good mental health means the ability to think things through so that you can adjust to and meet the demands in your life in ways that don't harm yourself and others. Okay, so we're looking at the type of mental health we should have, or the disposition we should have, rather, in our everyday activities. And then the second point I want to make here is that mental health affects your physical health, and your physical health affects your mental health. I think I said that at first when we started. If you have a problem with your mental health, it will show up in your body. If you have a problem with your physical health, it will show up in your mental abilities, or in your thinking, or in the decisions that you make. All right, so I want to share now some tips for handling stress, okay? Because stress is a factor here, especially in mental health. Anger is also a factor here, because many times when stress builds up, you're not really conscious of it, but it's really having an impact on you physically. And you know, we are sort of like cups, and a cup can only hold so much water or whatever you're putting into it. And if you keep pouring it, it's going to overflow. And I think that's what happened to us when we are constantly dealing with stress and we don't have any outlet. We don't deal with it. We're just putting it in our cup. Then it overflows, and that overflow comes out as anger. That overflow comes out as outburst and doing things that you really shouldn't do, because there's a pent-up emotion there. There's stress, and there's anger associated with that stress, or the stress causes us to maybe stress out over things that we really shouldn't stress out, or get angry over things that perhaps we shouldn't get angry about. So we're looking at some of the causes of stress, some of the causes of anger, and ways that we can really prevent them, or at least lessen them, and help us to have more healthier relationships with our wives, or with the mother of our children, and with our friends, or just in general. I believe it will be beneficial to us. So let's look at some tips there to how we can take care of ourselves mentally and physically. Okay, one of the things we can do is whether we can work out. Working out increases your strength and stamina. So we can just go to the gym and work out. And I think everybody really pretty much have heard or know that you need to do that. But the question is, will you do it? For me, I have to really force myself. It is a point of discipline. I have to discipline myself to work out. But that's one way that you can get rid of stress in your life, and anger as well. Another is eating right, eating the right foods. Now, you know, as men, we tend to sort of pig out on meats and a lot of greasy stuff, and probably we don't eat enough vegetables, or we don't eat a balanced meal, and we sort of pig out on the things that we like. And I believe that that's causing a lot of damage to our bodies, physically and psychologically or mentally. And you know, one of the stress diseases that we have that's really rampant right now is diabetes. And diabetes comes from the way we eat. Or we eating too much sugar. We're putting too much starch in our system. We're not eating a balanced diet, and therefore we are overweight, and we have stresses on our heart and on our introns, on our liver, on our kidneys, and on our heart. All these things have a bearing on us physically. So it really gets back to eating. Now, you know, one of the discussions that I've had many times with men in particular, they would say, well, you want me to eat these vegetables, but I need meat so that I can be strong, because meat helps me to have strength, and I need strength to work. Well, that's partially true, and it's partially not true. Let me tell you why. Because you can eat pure vegetables and be stronger than perhaps you were or would be if you ate meat. How do we know that? Well, all you have to do is look at an elephant. All you have to do is look at a horse. They eat vegetation, and they are pretty strong. And I know some very strong men who don't eat meat. Yours truly haven't had any meat in at least 6 months. I've been working with my wife, and so I think the only thing I have eaten is a piece of fish. The other day I had some salmon, a piece of salmon. But for the most part, I haven't had any pork, I haven't had any beef, I haven't had any chicken, and all the greasy stuff, and all the lunch meats, and all of that processed stuff. And I want to tell you, I think I'm better off for that. I think my skin is better, my body is better, I've lost weight, I've trimmed down, and I just believe that would be a thing that would help you to be not only a better dad, a 24/7 dad, but a better person. That you would like yourself, and life would be more enjoyable if you did those things. So I believe that we need to look at our eating, and we need to eat right. We need to eat a balanced meal. There's nothing wrong with eating meat, but we shouldn't pick out on it, and we should balance it with meat and vegetation and with starches. And you know, potatoes are very good. And potatoes are not as fattening as some of the other sugar-based things that we can eat. So, you know, you can eat a lot of potatoes. You can have, you know, a baked potato, and even a what I call an air-fried French fry. You know, nowadays you can buy these air fryers, and they're pretty good at really frying foods with air, and you get less oil that way. So there's so many things that we can do to really improve our eating. And so that's our second tip. A third tip here is that we need to get enough sleep. And I'm guilty of this, okay? I'm a night owl person, and so I have to really work at getting enough sleep, okay? But I think it's key, and it's recommended that you get at least 6 hours of sleep a night. 8 would really be better. I have to say to you, when I get 8 hours of sleep, I feel better, I think better, I interact better, I do a lot of things better. And obviously, I've learned to cope with less sleep. But just think of what I could do if I was more rested. I would think better, I would talk better, I would write better, I would interact with people better. And so I believe that sleep is very important for the 24/7 dad. And so it's good for you to start that when you're young too, and take it into your older age, and then you will have developed a regimen, or you will have developed a discipline that will actually undergird you and help you when you get older, because you've laid the foundation, and now you're just going through, you know, those motions. In other words, it's in your subconscious, and so you do it like clockwork. Okay, the fourth thing that I think we can do, well, I know we can, if you're willing, is that we can just be more flexible. And I tell you, we really need this flexibility now more than ever, because we don't know what a day will bring anymore. We don't know what the weather's going to be like. We don't know what an incident's going to take place. We don't know, you know, whether our car's going to break down. There are a lot of things going on, and if we're so uptight about these things, then it tends to take its toll on us. So we need to be flexible. If things don't go quite the way that you intended for them to go, just step back and analyze the situation, look at it, and then make some logical decisions. Well, I'm not going to do that, okay? But, you know, we tend to be pretty dogmatic, if you will, about how things ought to go based on how I planned them to be. And I'm just saying that your plans may be spoiled sometimes because of unforeseen activities or events that may take place in a day. And so it's good to be flexible. The other thing, the fifth thing I want to point out is that I think we need to be real about life, and not to walk around in fantasy, and face life as it really is, and not to procrastinate or to put things off or just think that certain things will go away. That's not being real. We need to learn to prioritize our lives. And that word prioritize means that you look at all the things that you have to do, and you put priority on those things that are most important. And some of those things you have to let go, or you have to cut out. And I believe that that is being real. That is looking at your life and making decisions based on what's most important to you at any given time. Now, the next one, item 6 is just be happy. We need to be happy, okay? And being happy is a decision. Being joyful is a decision. You can decide to be happy. You can decide to have joy. And it really has to do with what you're thinking about. You know, I just laughed just at the thought of it. Well, that wasn't anything funny, but I made myself be joyful. Like now, I can make myself be joyful. You can too, because it's a decision. We want to make decisions about how we treat ourselves. We talked about that in previous sessions, that we need to take care of ourselves. And I believe being happy and being joyful is a way to do that. This is more easier said than done. I will admit that, okay? But we need to try to look at the good instead of the bad. The glass is half full and not half empty. We don't want to major on minors, and we don't want to accent all the negatives. We want to get to the positives. And so it is a way of life, it's an approach to life that I believe will benefit us as 24/7 Dad if we are happier, or if we have more joy in our lives, or at least if we know how to conjure up, if we know how to change the atmosphere, if we know how to change the dread, if you will, and all the agony, and just change your thought process. You know, you can only think of one thing at a time. Your mind is like a big hopper, and it has this slot. Whatever you put in that slot is what you're going to be thinking about. Have you ever tried to think of two things at the same time? You can't do it. You have to drop one and pick up the other. Therein is the secret to having joy or being happy. You put in the slot of your mind something happy, and then you act upon it. Okay? That's how you do that, and it will work for you. The other point I want to make, which is point 7 here, or tip 7, is that we need to laugh and have fun. We need to laugh and have fun. And you know, I probably need prompting and help in this area probably more than anyone, because I don't have a disposition for having fun or laughing. And it may have to do with my background, my upbringing. My dad had a work ethic, and so we worked more than we enjoyed leisure. You know, we didn't go out and play baseball and all that stuff. We were always working. My dad was just that way, and so you know, I learned to just work. But that has a carryover in my life today. And when I got married and have kids and all of that, you know, I found them saying to me, well, Dad, you don't have fun, you know, let's have some fun or whatever. So they would have to prod me, right? And I think I'm better at it today than I used to be. But what I am saying is that having fun is good. It's healthy for you. You know, I think it's a proven fact that laughter is good for you. It's like medicine. It's good for your body. And if you can laugh and enjoy life, it has a therapeutic property for your body, for your disposition. It helps you to get along and to look at life in a positive way. So we want to laugh and have fun. And the eighth point here, I'm just going through all these points that we have in our book. The eighth point is that we should learn to communicate better. Share your feelings when it's safe to do so, and don't keep them bottled up inside, because they will become like pressure. And when pressure builds up in a container, at some point in time, it's going to release, okay? Because the pressure is going to be greater than the capacity of the container. And that's what happens when we allow stress and anguish and all the disappointments of life and all the things we have to contend with get next to us. Then we have this buildup, and many times it comes out in our interaction with others, and sometimes it doesn't have a lot to do with the interaction, but it has more to do with what's pinned up in us. Have you ever seen someone who got angry over something simple that they really should not have? Well, it really wasn't about that something. It was about the pent-up frustration. It was about the pressure within. They needed to let it out, but they didn't manage it well, okay? They didn't recognize that they needed to do that. And so what I'm saying to you is that you can do this, but you have to be conscious of it, and you have to learn how to manage the stress and anger. You have to learn how to manage the daily situations and circumstances that you have to contend with just by living. And I believe that, what we're talking about here will help you be a better 24/7 dad. I believe that there's no doubt that this material that we're covering is a good start for doing that, okay? And so the ninth tip I want to share with you is that we need to get rid of the clutter. Get rid of the clutter. Now, we guys are probably really are guilty of, cluttering up things. We don't always clean up behind ourselves. We don't always put things back where they need to be. And many times the female, the woman, takes on that responsibility, and we just let them do that. But I believe that it would be a good thing if we would be more responsible in that area and get the clutter, not only physical clutter, but get the clutter out of our minds, get the clutter out of our emotions, if you will. And I think that we would be more healthier. But one of the things that I've discovered is that the way that we have peace in our lives is through order. Order brings peace. And disorder brings confusion and chaos. Now, you may not feel that way. You may be saying, well, I don't care about the chaos. That doesn't bother me. I don't care if the room is messed up, if it's not clean and things are over. That doesn't bother me. But it does. You just don't know. Everybody wants peace. But everybody do not realize that what they're doing could be hampering their peace. When you have order, you will have peace. And one of the examples that I use oftentimes when I talk about order bringing peace is military installations. I don't know whether you've ever gone on a military installation or any organization that is organized and has disciplined itself, and you can see that order. Every time I go on a military installation, I find peace. And it's ironic because military people are trained to do warfare. They're trained to tear things up. They're trained to fight other people. But yet, there's peace there. Where does the peace come from? It comes from order, because everything has a place and nothing is out of place. So when you walk on there, you're confronted with peace. Another example, go to a park. A park that is manicured, a park that has everything in place, there's a certain amount of peace that you get versus going to a place where there's junk and, old abandoned cars and all the clutter. You don't get any peace from that. Well, I'm saying that that's the way it is inside of you. That's why we need to get the clutter out. But the clutter in also is indicative or a sign that things are not right inside by what we tolerate on the outside. I've often said that when I get ready to buy a car, if it's a used car, the first thing I want to look at is how does it look on the outside? Is it kept good on the outside? And if it's kept pretty good on the outside, I can almost guarantee you that it's kept good inside, that the engine is clean and that things are orderly and in place because of how it appears. So, what I'm saying to you is that if you are clean and orderly on the inside in your emotions, you will express them on the outside and things around you. So oftentimes people express how they feel or what's going on the inside by how they handle the outside world. Now, we talked about this in the last session. We talked about having respect for ourselves, having respect for others, and having respect for the earth. And I said that the earth really is about things around you, that we really need to respect those things around us. And so our peace then comes from how we manage our environment, our outer environment and our inner environment as well. Okay? So now let's look at the 10th tip I have for you regarding our health, and that is to leave work at work. At some point in time, you have to leave work at work. You don't want to bring work home, okay? You want to leave it, and so when you get home, you want to focus on your family or on your wife or the mother of your children, on the children themselves. You want to have a free mind to do that. Now, I understand that sometimes things at work can be overbearing, and you have to really give some mental thought to them. And I'm not saying that those things do not occur, but I'm saying that as a general rule, we need to learn how to leave work at work. The other issue that I think we have with now, especially during COVID-19, is that we have the work at home because we're doing a lot of virtual stuff. And never before in our history, as it has in the last 2 years, with doing things by electronics. Many people are working from home. Many people are using, the cyber space to do work. And so therefore, work is right there. And in fact, you could end up working more that way than if you went to the office, because people expect for you to respond to emails and texts and all the things that are associated with that. So I think that's even more of a reason for you and I to really be able to set aside work because of the environment that we live in. So I want to say that we really have to work at setting work aside even at home now because of COVID-19 and because of the virtual world that we operate in. And tip 11 is that we want to spend time with friends. It's important to spend time with friends. Now, what you want to do is that if you have a situation where you feel, well, I got to deal with this thing, something is pressing hard and heavy on you, and you just feel you need to get away and sort of become a hermit, if you will, or at least not be bothered with people. That's probably the best time for you to really interface with other people, because friends can help you out. And friends can read you. They will sense that you're dealing with something, and you probably need to talk to someone about it. And I'm not saying that you need to just share your inner thoughts or your intimacy with just anybody, but I'm talking about a friend, someone that you can confide in. It's good to have friends that you can low down with, you can talk to, and you can deal with what's eating at you and get some perspective or a different perspective, because your perspective may be off, and it's sort of like I can see in front of me, but I can't see behind me. You can see behind me. When you're facing me, you can see what I'm dealing with or what I'm not dealing with behind me. So that's what the friend does. The friend deals with your behind, not your front, but your behind, because you can't see behind you. So friends help us to see in the rear. They help us to have a more of a 360-degree perspective about our lives and what is going on with us. Okay? Now, the 12th tip that I want to share with you is volunteerism. Volunteer. Do you volunteer for things? Do you volunteer to help people? Do you volunteer your time to help someone who's less fortunate than you? Oftentimes doing that, you really will have a great appreciation for what you do and who you are, and you'll find that maybe life is not so bad after you have spent time, helping other people. And so I want to just encourage you to volunteer your time. Volunteer your time at a homeless shelter. Volunteer your time at a food kitchen. Volunteer your time to help your neighbor, an older person cut the lawn, or to trim the hedges, or to go out and teach a young boy or girl how to do something like to play baseball, or to play tennis, or to learn to play an instrument, whatever the case may be. I believe that those things will also be beneficial to you. You see, you can't help other people without helping yourself. Helping them really impacts you. And many of us have not come to that realization that doing for others is therapy for you. It is good for you to do that. And so I would encourage you to explore that more. Okay? And then our final point here is that, final tip is that you want to come up with a hobby. Okay? Find something that you like to do and do it. Okay? You want to get into something that engulfs your attention and your appreciation or your love for something. And I'm right now, in fact, just last week, or was it this week? No, it's this week. I went out and I bought me an electric guitar. Electric guitar. I know zero about playing a guitar, but I love the music, and I've been around it all my life. My brother plays a guitar. In fact, my dad played a guitar too, but I've never taken the time to learn to play any musical instrument. And I decided, well, you know what? I'm going to learn to play the guitar. This is going to be my hobby. I'm going to put myself into it, and this is a challenge to me. This is my challenge. I'm going to learn to play this instrument, and I have this image in my head of my playing this instrument, and I want to tell you that George Benson has nothing on my image. Nothing on my image, if you know who George Benson is. Or, any of the great guitar players, okay, of the past. They have nothing on me, in my dream, in my image. But I'm going to let that image drive me, and it's going to become my hobby. And I want to say to you that you can do a similar thing. Find a hobby to get involved in. And that will help you deal with your stress and deal with your anger. All right. Now, let's wrap this up. I want to say that when a feeling is not allowed to show itself, it is like setting up a spring. When the pressure is off, feelings spring out. Feelings and thoughts have energy. I can't overemphasize that. Feeling and thoughts have energy. And you need to deal with that energy. You need to manage the energy well. I need to manage that energy well. We all need to manage that energy well. And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about tools for managing our lives, managing our mental and our physical health. Okay? The way I show my anger is what? In your workbook, number 5 on page 19. The way I show my anger is what? How do you show your anger? Okay? 6. I learned this from who? Who did you learn it from? And 7, one way my child or children show their anger is what? And then the obvious question is, who did they learn it from? And what that should tell you is that we tend to learn from those around us. And if you want to pass on good habits or good, activities to our children, it really starts with us. Because your parents, what your parents did impacted you as well. And so I think when you answer these questions, you're going to get the picture here that, my son or my daughter does this, and I do the same thing, okay? And so being a good 24/7 dad, you want to take a look at that and make sure that you're passing on the right ingredients for life to those around you, especially those that you love. Now, I just want to reiterate here again, and we did this in, I think, session 3, is that we want to respect ourselves, respect others, and respect the earth. We don't want to disrespect ourselves or disrespect others or disrespect the earth. And I believe that we will really do better at being 24/7 dads if we take these things to heart, okay? The part of my physical health that I'm most concerned about is what? What part of your physical health that you are most concerned about? I need to what? To take care of my physical health. Now, the physical health that I'm most concerned about is my lungs. I know that I have some issues there. So I need to make sure I'm breathing good air. Okay? That's how I handle them. But yours may be different. What is it that you need to do? You need to do what? To take care of your physical health. And then taking care of your physical health teaches your child to take care of his or her physical health. You taking care of your physical health teaches your child to take care of his or her physical health. Okay, so now we've pretty much come to a wrap on this session, and now we're at the checklist worksheet, and you can, it's pretty self-explanatory, but basically what you want to do is set up a worksheet or a checklist rather, where you want to list some things that you want to either do on a daily basis or a weekly basis or a monthly basis, or just a one-time situation as it relates to all the things we talked about, mainly about dealing with our health, our mental health and our physical health. So you want to come up with some activities that will help you mentally and some that will help you physically, okay, based on what we've talked about. And so I would like for you to fill that out in your workbook. Now, I want to ask you a couple of more questions. One is, what is one new thing that you learned today? Write that down in your textbook. One new thing that you learned today. On a scale of 0 to 5, okay, how likely are you to put what you've learned today into practice? Okay? And then the last question I have for you is that what I've learned will help me to be a better dad because. What I've learned today will help me be a better dad because. Well, I can see that our time is up. It's been a pleasure to be with you. This is one of our longer sessions, but I'm glad you hung in there. And listen, I'll see you in the next session. In fact, when you get there, when you click on the link, when you get there, you know what? I will be there. Until then, we'll see you.